All right, everyone. So this video really quick about Elon Musk. Oh my God, this guy. I know he has these big fans, the people that worship this guy. Guys, first of all, do not worship anyone in your life, okay? It's very silly, it's unwise. Don't do it. Study people carefully and then see things are not what they seem, okay? Never in life things are as straightforward or black and white. So coming to Elon Musk, he's portrayed as this, genius and this and that. Elon Musk is not really what you guys think, okay? If you really look into his story, um, this guy initially, I'm not gonna get into his personal life on how he got to the States, whatever, okay? Anyone is welcome. I'm not gonna even cover that, whatever. So he in the 90s, guys, in the 90s, there was something called the dot-com bubble, and it was called a bubble for a reason because it burst. During the dot-com bubble, where internet became readily available and widespread, and everyone was jumping on this, the next revolution. It was the next revolution, yes, but there was a lot of crap. So what happened is a lot of companies start popping up, BS companies, okay, like companies that were like investors were pouring in a lot of money. Man, this is the next big thing. This is the next, I don't know, Boeing and GE and Ford. So a lot of companies that you probably don't even know their names because they don't exist anymore. Either they went bankrupt or they got acquired by the companies that got survived. So the dot-com bubble, valuations of companies were going nuts. Company was not bringing in shit revenue, nothing, losing, negative like millions a month, a quarter, a year, hundreds of millions. But their valuations were like 10 billion, 20 billion. Why? Because of projected revenue, right? They were like, oh, once this company makes it, it's going to be the next gem or it's the gem, whatever. So Elon Musk, whether along his friend, I forget his name, they wrote a quote. I don't know how much of it was his. We probably will never know because the other guy didn't come out and said too much. This video is going to obviously be a lot longer than 3 minutes. So what happened is that he created PayPal, the payment system. I'm not going to get into the details of what PayPal is. Some of you probably know, or you can look it up. And then he sold it again during the dot-com bubble. There's a reason why I'm mentioning this, because it was crazy. PayPal, people were like, oh my God, this is going to revolutionize the payment system. That's the next big thing, right? PayPal did become big, yes, but not under this guy. He sold it for, I believe it was $1 billion, if I'm not mistaken, to eBay. And eBay bought it for a freaking loss. They had to really work on the platform to make it what it is now. PayPal was shit, guys. I don't know if you remember. I'm 36. I'm old enough to remember this stuff in the 2000s. Okay, it was shit. PayPal was horrible, guys. And then there's an investor by the name of Reid Hoffman. He was involved at eBay. So he pretty much made, well, not him, but a lot of engineers worked on it and made PayPal what it is. Okay, so my point here is this fucker got lucky, okay, because of the dot-com bubble. And then he lucked out again with his SpaceX company when NASA's budget was cut by Congress because NASA was under a lot of pressure. NASA is an agency that does a lot of stuff, guys. They do telescopes, they search for life in the universe, they study the solar system, outer solar system, the Hubble telescope, other planets, other galaxies, a lot of stuff. NASA does a lot of stuff, guys. So now Congress, Schmongress, cut NASA's budget, politics, schmolitics, a lot of stuff was going on. So the shuttle program, which transported cargo to the International Space Station, also deployed Hubble telescope. I believe it was, I think it was 89. Guys, I'm sorry. I think it was 89. somewhere. It was before the 90s. I know this, the Hubble was deployed, or was it 90s? Whatever. Um, so the space shuttle used to transport astronauts and also cargo to low space orbit. That was the transport vehicle of I mean the only one for NASA. So when NASA announced, I believe it was during the Bush administration, that the second term, that the shuttle will be retired. It was just getting old, and not necessarily old. That was not the main reason. Main reason was it was just hard to maintain. It was expensive. I think every shuttle mission costs around 800 to $1 billion to launch. But there were a lot of things. So there was a case made that it's a waste. Government, this and that. We don't need the shuttle, the shuttle, the shuttle, the shuttle. So the shuttle was retired. Um, and anyway, so how does this all relate to Elon Musk? It relates to him because during the Obama administration, but it was not Obama. It was made during the Bush administration to privatize a lot of the low orbit space missions, especially cargo and astronauts to the International Space Station, to private sector. Um, so this fucker got lucky again and got a big boost from NASA. NASA helped this guy and his company SpaceX to build the Falcon 9. That is the rocket that does the missions for NASA and some other private companies. But the big chunk, actually, I think 80% of SpaceX's revenue comes from, maybe higher, comes from NASA. It was NASA that made SpaceX what it is. Yes, there are a lot of intelligent people that work at SpaceX. Yes, there are a lot of people that work hard. That is true. But if it wasn't for NASA, SpaceX wouldn't exist. And its biggest customer is NASA. I believe there was somewhere around $8 billion that NASA gave or signed with SpaceX for a couple of years. The Falcon 9 would not exist without NASA. The SpaceX's Crew Dragon. Well, first it was cargo. No, Crew Dragon, which transports astronauts to the space station, the ISS, called the Dragon. It was the hell was I saying? It it wouldn't exist without NASA. So, but this guy goes around, says he did this all of himself. Government this, Deutsch this. Fuck you, piece of shit. But see, this is what I don't like about this culture, right? People always think there's some kind of one-man job, but it's not true, guys. It's not true. Look into Elon Musk. He got lucky during the dot-com bubble, made money. A lot of you may say, oh, so what? He still did this. He still did that. A lot of it was circumstantial, guys. There were circumstances that lined up that benefited him. If it wasn't for those circumstances, he wouldn't have. To compare SpaceX with NASA, and people might say, well, how come NASA couldn't build a rocket that lands? How come NASA couldn't do that? Well, first of all, guys, NASA is a public agency. It's a government agency. NASA's foundation from the beginning was to make sure they're spread across the country. Okay, when the NASA's bill, I forget what it was called. It was during Eisenhower administration. A lot of states said we need we need some piece of the pie. So what does that mean? That means that there's a reason why NASA is spread around the country. There's Houston, Alabama, Huntsville, Houston. There's JPL, which I used to do some work in, Jet Propulsion Lab with something called Caltech. Anyway, so there's a reason why it's spread around. So the case was made that NASA is so inefficient. You have to build one thing here, transport it there. There was a reason why. SpaceX is a private company. They're not obligated. They don't get their money. Well, they do get their money through taxpayers, through NASA. But anyways, there's a lot to this story. It's not what it seems like. Okay, this guy goes around, runs his mouth. I'm not gonna even cover Tesla and how Tesla became what it is now. But I just wanted to cover that there were a lot of circumstantial moments in the 90s and 2000s that benefited this guy. But this guy goes around, portrays himself as this genius that he just made it all possible. It's just not true, not true, guys. That's it, not true.